Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Exoria. So, since last episode, I have done just a small little building project that I was working on. Not a building or anything super elaborate like that. You'll also notice, I'll take you over there, but you'll also notice that I did start adding vines around. So, somebody's firing at me. Anyways, you'll notice there's a bit of vines there, and I did do a bit of landscaping on this side. Adding a bunch of trees and bringing the grass out a little bit. So you can see right there, it's a little bit more lush on this side, and then there's vines hanging down from the supports up there, and also actually upstairs. You can see there's vines hanging over some of the windows here too. So I did add that stuff in to kind of give it that nice overgrowth look that I want. And then if we head out, let's actually head outside of the building now. So I did bring the road out here a little bit. I also brought over an infinite mana pool. This is so that I have mana for my mana wands. And I'm not having to pop back over, at least for mana. Which, I mean, it takes a while to run out of mana tablet with the rods, but I still like having it on hand. So, but over here, I have a little bit of a building project that I've been working on. So this is basically just a little walkway that kind of goes up under here. And this is kind of like a ruined structure frame. And you can see actually on this side, you can see there's actually like pieces of metal like sticking out of here. Kind of like replicating the idea that it's been broken off of something, right? And on the other side as well. And then on this other side, you can see there's more broken metal. And there's a piece of what would be like the frame continuation right there. So it's kind of like broken apart from that section, and the rest of it's maybe buried under the ground. So I was using the architecture craft, these little, I can't remember what they're called, but I was using them for like the broken off bits of metal. You can also see I brought the water out a little bit more. I brought it, basically it stopped like right in there, and I dug out all this and brought it out a little bit further. So it's a little bit more marshy looking through there. And did a little bit of landscaping, adding trees and overgrowth around. I've got to figure out something to do, maybe a little chiseled block or something like that to stop the vines from growing up above things. Because I have the same problem over there, so I'll probably have to do like a little chiseled bit or something like that. It's not a big deal, but it is something that I want to fix at some point. So, and then I added these nice little, these are actually redstone blocks, and one block makes two of them, so I'll put one on each side. Just for kind of like to add a little bit of color there. But I wanted to go for something that kind of looks like a frame of something that's, you know, that's set there for a while and overgrown, and you know, adding the trees around it and all that stuff. So, and then there's a pathway that goes off in that direction to nothing. There's a pathway that comes up here to nothing, and there's a pathway that comes around, and really it connects to nothing, but there is a little setup over here, which is for glowstone. It's another like frame here kind of sticking up. And then I've got a little glowstone area right here. So, and you will take damage on these. So just be aware, you know, you don't want to stand in these glow-type crystals. And then right here I've got a steel hammer set up on one of the extended crafting pedestals. A little bit expensive, but, well, involved. Not really expensive. And then I've got a crushing table over here just for making glowstone, because I was going through so much glowstone doing all these, like, these railings throughout here, because these are all glowstone, but it's nice because they provide light, so I really don't have to light things up with like, you know, like random lights stuck out and around, because I don't want lights through these pathways, but I still want to kind of keep it lit up so it looks good at night. So I think these kind of work out, these nice glowing pathways, and it kind of adds some like structure to the chaos that is like all these trees and overgrowth that's going on. So I've still got a lot of work to do on that end. I've got to bring over leaves and kind of do leaves to make it feel a little bit more overgrown and stuff like that. But it is getting there bit by bit, and it kind of makes it a little bit more exciting when you turn this corner, because you kind of see it off there in the distance. But when you actually start turning this corner, you can see the building there. I think adding those vines there, they took a little while to grow out, but adding those vines there really kind of brought it together too, I think. Lots of work on that end. Mainly, it's all like little small stuff. That's the kind of stuff I want to do off camera, I think. Anyways, that's the main things I've been working on, just adding that lushness to this. You know, it's actually kind of like the polar opposite of the last dimension, because we just had like black ash and nothingness, no greenery whatsoever. And then you come here and it's just like overgrown. Super overgrown. So anyways, today I want to get back into building. Originally I wasn't planning on going straight back into another building episode after last episode, because it does take a while. But to really start plugging stuff up in this dimension, I really need to get our bee processing room or building built for this temple, and then I also need to start setting up a storage building. So we're going to be doing both those build projects at the same time. But luckily we kind of have something started. I don't know if I'm going to get them completely finished out like this one was, since I'm going to be working on 2 build projects, and also this video intended to come out on, well, let's see, originally it was supposed to come out on Friday, but I know that my SevTech video is not going to come out till Friday, just because I spent so long working on this that I've gotten a little bit behind. And then chances are this probably won't come out on Saturday. It'll probably come out on Sunday by the time I get it done. But if we get those 2 buildings done, then we have quite a few projects to work on, which will be nice. So that way I have time to get on to the next build projects. Plus I got some building this weekend to do on SevTech. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be starting just like last time. I'm going to do the outline of the base, like where it's going to sit, get all that figured out, and bring you guys back once I get the outlines for both of the bases down, and then we'll go from there. So anyways, I will be back here in a bit. Okay, welcome back. It has been a little bit since the last recording. Basically just, like I said, getting the outlines and stuff of these built. You can see right here we've kind of got like an entrance made out of old Tyrian, rusted Tyrian. And then I've done the outline for the first area, like the first floor. And dug up this, because we're going to put a floor down and everything. So I got that all dug up. This building will likely have an upper floor, maybe a lower floor. I'm not for sure yet. I'm kind of just... This one, I mean, I've got the idea for it, but I haven't nailed down those decisions. So I don't know for sure if it's going to have 2 floors or 3 floors or how I'm going to do it. But this is going to eventually be our storage building. So, progress. And then what was funny is actually when I was building these out, they kind of looked like the Half-Life symbol at first. Like, over there. That's what it made me think of when I was building them. I was like, man, that looks a lot like Half-Life. But, yeah. Like the, what is it, the lambda symbol. So, there we go. And then we'll pop over to the other one, and I'll show you what I've done. I've done a little bit more on this one. That was because I got to a point I couldn't record, so I just started working on, you know, the next little bit of this. But I did bring the road out over here. I haven't done the sarsen that goes along it and the handrails, but I started working on the little walkway over here. It's just iron slats and factory blocks, and right over here you can see we've got like almost like pipes that run through this that have been broken off. And you step in here. This is not a floor that we're actually going to be using. This is just kind of an entrance floor with some kind of old it's got some kind of old generator system, basically. This is the rainbow porcelain. Not terribly hard to craft. It does require a bit of porcelain. And then the 3 dye colors. I mean, I was able to make all this with 1 craft. Still have a little bit left over. So, and then it's got Tyrian bars kind of around the little generator cores, so to speak. So, and then all these broken pipes down through here, where it's like set for a while and decayed, so to speak. So, anyways, that's the progress that I've gotten done so far. This building here, like, you're going to enter right here, but it's not, the machines and stuff aren't actually going to be down here. They're going to be up another floor. And then above that, we're going to have a false floor. And the reason being is because this pack has all those restrictions, which are kind of annoying at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a floor above that, the actual floor with all the machines that we actually go into to automate and work in. I'm going to put a floor above that that's going to hold like wattle and daub. or, you know, whatever, whatever, like, pieces that we need, because, like, the furnace requires wattle and daub. I don't know about the, let's see, the electric furnace does not seem to require wattle and daub. So we may not actually need it for that, but I know that, I think there'll be a couple things that go through here that are going to need, you know, some kind of special block. So I'm just going to put, like I said, a false floor up there and connect it up to the room, but not accessible. And just build it out with, like, I don't know, laboratory blocks or wattle and daub or whatever is needed for this building. That's the progress thus far. Now I've got to start working on actually bringing them up, you know, just like we did over at the temple. I got to bring it up. I got to put a floor on that other side. I figure with how this one's set up, because this is like the outline and the first little floor section, I figure this one will actually probably be like a step ahead of the other ones. The other one has just the outline. This one kind of has the floor and the base section there. So I'll add, you know, maybe start on the next section that's going to have the actual machines in it. Whereas that one I'm mainly going to be, between this cut and coming back, I'll mainly be putting in the floor and bringing up that first floor area. And if you want to see what it looks like from the sky, this is what we got so far. Like, that's that little building, and then over here we've got our Lambda Center. Our storage center. That's the shape that I ended up building out for that. Which was actually kind of a spur of the moment shape, and I quite like it. I like the way it turned out. I think it's fitting for the build style. So off at a distance there and there. And by the way, I'll quickly go over this just because my build plans for this series. If you recall last episode, I kind of hinted saying that we're going to use different build styles, different you know, different themes and stuff like that as we build. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do different themes to some extent as we cross into different areas. So for example, over here, this isn't set in stone, but let's pretend that I put a bridge over here to the next island. Well, the next island's probably going to have quite a bit different building. And then even if I bring this pathway, you know, because I've got the road that comes out right here, I'm thinking that even if I bring this pathway out a bit, and so maybe I have a building sitting right over here, it may not share the features of this area over here, because originally when I came to this dimension, my plan was, if you recall, I said on the temple I changed up some things and added some things. My original plan was, when we came to this dimension, I was going to do something really vibrant, but do kind of like those different builds across different areas. But I knew I wanted something really vibrant, kind of just a polar opposite from the Exoria dimension. So we ended up with all these trees and stuff. But after being in this dimension, there's, you know, the drone mobs. I don't know why I'm like stopping myself from falling, because I'm immune to fall damage. But there is the drone mobs, and I'm trying to use this dimension as inspiration for these builds and stuff. And so you have this planet, right, that is kind of magical. You have like these little plant creatures, and then you have these creatures over here that are my favorite, and they actually exert some kind of intelligent life. They actually speak, and they carry around tools, quote unquote. They're like saplings and stuff, but you know, maybe they're a little bit more intelligent, but they're still magical creatures, right? And they're little grove sprites. And then, of course, you have the ender worms, and you have the drones, which don't really match up with these guys. And then you also have the deers and the bears, you know, wildlife. So you have, like, this magical planet, but then you have these drones and these little ender worms. Well, my thinking is that, like, and plus you have the fog, right? My thinking is that, like, this planet used to be a lot more advanced. You have this fog that's kind of like leftover pollution, you know, from that era, when this planet was, you know, was more technologically advanced, right? And then something happened and it wiped out all of them. So all that's left is like these little ender worms, which are some kind of alien life that was brought here or left here, or created here, or, you know, something like that. And then you have these drones that are kind of like leftover Final Fantasy X reference, you know, Machina from the old era, right? And so naturally you would have like these leftover ruins of the old world, right? All these, like, you know, these ship frames, and like over here I'm planning on this being almost like a like a turbine that's crashed into the earth right there. And then right here we kind of have like a temple, but it has bits and pieces that are a little bit more techie looking and techie style that have been implemented into this, into this temple. Maybe the temple was actually built underneath it by these little intelligent guys. So maybe those support struts are actually holding up that top building, and then that temple was formed up underneath it. But I want some of the buildings to kind of look rough and raw, like this over here. You got these broken pieces of metal and stuff like that. And then some of the areas have been like almost retrofitted and cleaned up for their needs. Like up there, we don't have the metal sticking out and stuff. Over there, you do have the metal kind of broken pieces and stuff like that. So some of these have been kind of retrofitted into like a clean looking building for their needs. Like that, they've taken that metal and acted like it's sacred, and like shaped it up and everything, and built this temple underneath it. And then you have like leftover metals, and then you have like old crash machines that were just so big that they kind of like retrofitted into a building, right? It's kind of my thinking. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's kind of cool, but that's kind of the vibe I got from this planet, because you have these drastically different creatures. You have drones that do not fit with the magical theme of the rest of it. So it makes me think, well, something happened here. This place was decimated, and the gross rights are kind of the life that came after, whatever life created all these machines and stuff. Now, as we transfer areas, like this is almost like the site of a crash, right? So there's like a lot of I've got to go through here and add more like stuff. But my plan is to have this kind of be like the site of like I don't know, like a mothership has crashed here or something. So there's just a lot of debris that they're kind of using as buildings and stuff like that. But as you go further out, maybe it's not a crash site, but maybe you still have that, like those bits of like metal and machines and stuff that are still visible, but not as densely as this area. So this area, I want it to almost feel like it's, the remnants of an old junkyard or something like that, like where a mothership has crashed down onto this planet, or crashed, back down into this planet. I don't know. But, and then as you go farther out, we're still going to have those bits of metal and stuff, but maybe it's, more naturey. Maybe they live in trees, or maybe they live, in cloud, something like that. Not necessarily those examples, but I haven't thought that far ahead. But I'm focusing on this little area. But it was like after getting here and seeing those drones, it was like, yeah, I got to do something with that. But that way we can kind of marry tech and magic, because there's a little bit of tech in this pack. There's a bit of magic in this pack, and we can kind of marry them together, so even the tech takes on like a magical feel, which is kind of what I want. I think that's what I want for this dimension, because it just kind of fits. And maybe we could take the lore even further and say the Defiled Lands was, a byproduct of that civilization, because the Defiled Lands is pretty much ravaged, and so maybe the Defiled Lands is kind of a byproduct of that civilization as well. So trying to give it a little bit of lore and a little bit of fun to the build and everything, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Pretty much ever since I saw those drones, it was like, oh, okay. We're going to have to implement that somewhere. So, anyways, I'll be back once I get the next stage of building done, and we'll see where we're at then. So, I'll be back. Okay, it's been a bit since I last cut, and over here, if we come up here, I've kind of worked on this little entryway a little bit. There's still a little bit more. I'm going to break up a little bit of this Tyrian to kind of add some kind of like detail that's not just rusted Tyrian, but for right now, this is what I've got. I don't mind making extra. Tyrian's cheap, and I know I'm going to end up needing it. So basically, if we step through here, the actual intention of this, which is not readily apparent at the moment, but it will be once I get the roof / floor done, but this is actually going to be upside down. So that's why I've got railings that run up along through there that are kind of rusted, and they've had exposure to the elements and stuff like that. So we got these handrails up here, and so this is actually going to be the ceiling that we're walking on now, like an upside down ceiling. But anyways, this area, I've actually went ahead and ran the frame drawers. I just did regular frame drawers, and this is actually going to be covered. So I can leave it as just a frame drawer. It's actually going to be covered. The drawer controller is sitting on top of that. So the drawer controller is going to sit right there. Right here is actually going to be an input. Like right as you walk in, I'm just going to have a... It's going to be an ender chest is what we're going to make. I'm actually going to do that on camera though, because that's going to be when we set up our actual sorting system and stuff. But then right down below it's going to be a controller slave that's connected up there. And this room is actually just the right size. So from here over to there is 12 blocks, like to this point, which is, you know, the maximum range that a drawer controller can have. Of course, it's cut down. It's not maximum size because these corners are kind of brought in a little bit. But everything is plugged up. We're going to have drawers setting here, drawers setting right over here, drawers along this wall, right there, right there, right there, right there. And then the floor above this is actually going to be like a sorting room. It's going to handle where everything goes. Now, I decided that in this series, normally in the past, a lot of times, I do my drawer system, and then I have like my refined storage or AE2 or whatever, you know, sorting system I'm using is generally within the same building. They are not going to be in the same building within this series. So the refined storage, actually, yeah, I think it's refined storage within this pack, right? I think AE2, which is kind of funny because, yeah, like right here, if you look at applied energistics, they pretty much cut out everything related to applied energistics except for like the charger and the grindstone and then materials. So the majority of the stuff that makes applied energistics has been removed with this pack. So one thing I was curious about, skystone dust. It looks like the only way really, I think, to get, well, it might actually be in a dimension somewhere and not show up in the generation, possibly. I don't know. But it looks like the only way to get skystone is through bees or getting skystone dust, which comes from skystone. So it's possible that skystone could come from some kind of, you know, processing or something like that, because in this pack a lot of the recipes aren't shown until you actually unlock them, you know, through a command through the quest book. So I don't know for sure on that, but I was actually kind of curious about skystone because it's one of those, I love that block, I love using it for building and stuff, but I'm not for sure when it's going to be available, or if it's, I'm sure it'll be available because if nothing else we can get it through bees. But anyways, this is all plugged up and ready to go, so we can start adding in drawers. Luckily we can actually change up our drawers. I've got to figure out a drawer design that I want to use. I actually need to just pull this off my bars. I haven't been using it of late, so I may put it away until we actually go exploring. I don't know. But I've got to figure out a drawer design, but luckily our old drawers from our old base, we can just change those over in a framing table. You know, they allow you to, you do lose the blocks that it was originally created with, but you can change them over like that, so it's quite handy. But yeah, there's going to be some stuff on the ceiling. The ceiling, this actually, the blue stone, this is actually meant to be like beams, and they've placed the stone over here to kind of make the floor level. So we have like, you know, beams and lamps that were here originally, and then they replaced the stone with this like blue stone that kind of has, I don't know, almost like a mystical look. I love the little tint of blue on that, like almost sky stone color. I do quite like it. But there's going to be some stuff up here. The ceiling is actually going to be more ornate than the floor in this case, because the floor is more just a ceiling, or what was a ceiling, and then the floor is actually going to have, you know, maybe like vents and things like that up there. So, but that's where I'm at with that. It's still got a lot of work to do, but it's getting there. And then I got to hit it with like detail and decorative stuff. So, but I got to figure out, like I said, I got to figure out what kind of drawers I want to use, what color palette I want to use for those. And then if we head over here, which you notice there was actually a drone right there. It's funny because a lot of drones won't attack me. Some drones will attack me. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, over here, I still haven't done this like detail on the walkway, but over here I did add these pillars, and I added a ceiling here that's all factory blocks and redstone lamps, which sadly there is no inverted redstone lamps in this pack. You know, the ones that are always on unless you apply redstone to them. There is no inverted, so it's kind of a bummer, but that's fine. I've just got them turned on by levers. I'll show you in just a second whenever we go up there. But if we pop up here, this is the area I've got here. This is actually where the processing is going to take place. You know, the automatic processing. It's going to have centrifuges and smelting operations going for the bee stuff, and then also the condenser and, let's say, centrifuges, condenser, smelting, and, you know, whatever else is involved with it. And then if we pop up here, if we pop down inside of this, because I'm actually going to leave that center part hollow. That way above this I can build a floor that's got laboratory blocks and wattle and daub or whatever, and just have it kind of closed off. We're not even going to access it, because once it's in place, we don't really need to access that area, because it's just going to be, you know, the exterior is going to be decorated and stuff, but the interior is just going to be for the blocks that we need to actually run the machines. So I really hate those restrictions because they're just silly, I think. But up here, this is the floor between the floors. So, and of course we have the glow-tight sand, so we have that showing up on the exterior. We'll take a better look at the exterior here in just a second, and then I've got just levers down to activate those redstone lamps. A lot of glowstone and redstone. Like, I've had that alloy kiln running quite a bit. Luckily, I mean, redstone actually crafts pretty quick. The worst part is smashing up all that magma rock, but technically we can make it a lot easier, but it's fine for right now. Those steel hammers go pretty far, so. But anyways, if we pop back up here, these are just, of course, elevators from open blocks again. And then factory blocks from chisel. The plating, the sloppy plating. And it's really cool because whenever you use architecture craft on these, like, look at this. It actually compacts the detail on some of the blocks. It actually did the same thing with another block that I tried. I can't remember what it was now. But there was another block that it compacted the detail like that, and I actually quite like it. I like it quite a bit, so, because it's kind of got that rusty look and stuff. It kind of brings me back to the Divine Journey, you know, the Silent Hill build, because it was a lot of like rust and stuff, and that's a lot of what I'm going for. I mean, the thing about this though is you have some materials that theoretically wouldn't rust as much as others. So, which that's the exterior, by the way. I did add some little pipes, the little rusted Tyrian pipes there to kind of just, I don't know, add that extra layer of detail. So, but you've got, but over here, like these struts and these, where the sarsen stone is, basically, I don't know, it kind of looks like a little bit futuristic, kind of. It's, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like primal looking. So I think it actually kind of matches up with that build nicely and the sconces and stuff like that. But like over here, for example, this building, okay, we have this building made out of this like steel type metal. It's all steel sheet metal. But it's not as rusted looking. So kind of my thinking is like, you know, just with like real metals like that we as humans have access to, you have certain metals that don't rust, you know, like stainless steel and stuff like that. They might become dirty or covered in grass, things like that. But then you have other metals that after they've set out for a while, naturally they're going to take on this like really rusty, grimy, dirty appearance. So I kind of want to replicate that with like different types of metal. You know, I've got those grates over there that are rusted, but not quite rusted to the point of this. You know, this is, whatever this material was made of, it has rusted just really, really badly and has really suffered the effects of exposure. Whereas, you know, over there, it's still got that grimy look to it, especially once I hit it with like vines and stuff like that. It's really got that like grimy appearance. Can't sleep on the slides, but it doesn't have the same appearance as that rusted Tyrian. I think it works out nicely. And actually, I might break off some of these too to kind of replicate that. But I'm thinking like the exterior though was damaged, you know, a bit more heavily whenever it crashed than, you know, maybe the interior was. So I don't know. I figured this would be a fun build. I'm having fun with it anyways. I'm definitely having fun with it. I do have to farm up more bamboo sprouts. I think I have 2 left. I did plant some back over at the world spawn though, so I'll gotta go farm some more of those. But I'm pretty much out of them at this point as far as, because I need more, and that's pretty much where I stopped, was I gotta farm bamboo sprouts. But they shouldn't be an issue because they drop in mass. They drop a lot of bamboo sprouts usually. So anyways, that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to work on, between this cut and coming back, I'm going to work on, of course, bringing this building up. I'd like to get the ceiling put on and maybe figure out a drawer design. Start doing the drawers. It's a lot of drawers. I'm probably not going to have all of them done. But at the same time, it's actually a whole lot easier to make chests where we're at right now. Because, of course, I'm going to have to make a ton of chests. But the trapdoors that require, I think the main problem here is the twine, because like wood's not too much of an issue. The wood pins, still need to make the sawmill, but it's actually like super fast to get wood. And of course here I've just been using berries. Same thing I've been using to make slats. But the twine though, plant fiber, we can But I'm pretty sure that we could use the leaves from this dimension. If nothing else, I know I've got like a bunch of fruit trees. That's probably what I'm going to do, is just run around and grab these for twine and then cut them down, because I've got trees readily available. I'm not going to do it near the base because I don't want to like destroy this this island just for like stuff that I can get anywhere. So if nothing else, I can cut down those, like cut all those fruit leaves off, and it really won't take that long with shears. So, but anyways, that's the progress thus far. And if you want to see it from above, I feel like it's really coming together how I want it to. Of course, I got to bring like the bamboo trees out and around, and you know, add that denseness that we have like up around here. And I also need to plant sugar canes around this water and kind of add just that lushness. That actually takes a little bit longer than you might expect, going through and adding just a ton of greenery and stuff. But I want to start adding the detail work in here, but the reason I've held off on that until this update was simply because there's some places like right here, where my drawers could stick through. I can easily change it so that they don't. But I need to figure out exactly how I want to design out the drawers before I start filling those, you know, before I do the detail work. Because technically the drawers could be the detail work, and then just kind of hit the outside with like some architecture or craft stuff. To kind of add, kind of like what I did with those bars over there, do something, you know, to that effect. I don't know. So I've got to figure out exactly what drawer design I want to use. They're going to be 3 high, and I'm going to use a combination of single drawers and 2x2s and stuff like that. So that we have space for. Honestly, I think this room should be big enough for most everything that we need, but we'll see. And I also got to figure out exactly what I want to put in compacting drawers. Of course, metal and stuff we can't do compacting drawers with. But I don't know. And I'm also on the fence. I haven't decided for sure if I want to store stuff in compacting drawers. You know, in CivTech, I haven't been storing stuff in compacting drawers. And a lot of that's due to the fact that refined storage and AE2 sometimes bug out with compacting drawers because they look at something and they think they have so much of, you know, whatever item to craft, but they actually don't, because, you know, they're using the block forms too. And I don't know. Sometimes it messes with stuff and causes like some issues with auto crafting. So I'm kind of on the fence about that, if I even want to use compacting drawers. You know, used to I was like a mega compacting drawer fan, but in like the last, I don't know, year, I guess, I've started kind of moving away from compacting drawers and preferring to have everything set to recipes. So, plus it fixes some issues, because sometimes it thinks it can't craft it, and I don't know. Like, so I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure yet. So I'll try to decide that between this cut and coming back, so. Anyways, I'll be back once I get a bit more building done, and I'm going to try to bring, on this building, I'm actually going to try to bring the wall up and maybe start putting in for the false floor room. This building over here is actually a lot more simple and a lot cheaper than, at least for setting up. I mean, once we start putting the, you know, centrifuges and stuff like that in there, the cost is going to rise. But as far as the building itself goes, it's really, really cheap and fairly straightforward to make. This one actually hasn't taken too long. But the other one, it's taken a little bit more time, but now that I finally got the size and the structure decided for that floor, it should be a bit quicker now. So, anyways, I will be back here in just a bit. Okay, it's the next day, like real day. I have been working quite a bit on this. Over here, yeah, we'll start over here. So over here, I've done some of that like broken off metal bits right here. Because in theory, which I actually kind of have an idea of what this structure came from, because it took forever. Well, not forever, but it took a while, because I had to figure out, like, I'm trying to build this as, you know, somewhat of a structure that could have possibly existed, you know? And so it's broken off right here, and the upper section is not broken off because the upper section was actually part of just this segment. Of course, I still have a bit of work to do up there, but anyways, if we come through here, also building upside down is very difficult. To get your mind in that like mindset that you're building upside down. But anyways, like there's steps there, and there's rails. I still want to figure out more stuff to put on the ceiling to kind of... I tried a couple things, but I'm trying to get a few more things up there that would make it feel like it's upside down, you know. But there is like a pathway that kind of runs through here, and see, it's open where you're, like normally you would like walk through here, but we're on the ceiling, so it's a little bit different up here. And I also added some rails up here. This is not handrails, it's more decorative rails, you know, theoretically, that kind of run through there. And then, of course, we got our drawers. I actually went ahead and just made all the drawers. And I actually tore down our original storage room. Now, the bee system is still up because I have the bees running and I need for them to have a place to go. But I figure I'll be able to find some kind of use for them at some point. But I did go ahead and move over our basalt, our ash, our cobblestone, our stone, dirt, gravel, sand, all that good stuff over to here. And those are in single drawers, and this is all 2x2s, and over here I have 2x1 drawers set up. So, and then, yeah, this is, let me break these off. These aren't supposed to be here. I originally had vines over here, but I didn't like the way that it covered the drawers. So I cut down on the amount of vines in this area, and they're more just directly near the door. So like the plant growth has, you know, started to grow in here, but maybe it hasn't actually like completely taken over this area. And then back in here, I actually did set up a waystone because it made moving this stuff over a little bit easier. And I also crafted a packing tape and just moved over, let's see, the basalt drawer, cobblestone, gravel, sand, and ash. Those 5 I actually moved over here with packing tape because it was just way quicker than trying to pull all that stuff out. Dirt I didn't have that much of left from making grass, so, and setting up the little grass farm area for getting more grass, so that one wasn't too big of an issue. Now over here I actually have, these are liquid fuel tanks from Advanced Rocketry. I crafted these out. They're not really expensive. A few pieces of steel is all it takes to make these, and they kind of reassure that, like, you know, upside down aspect, because it's got like these tanks, and you know, they haven't fallen because they were like these tank canister holder things are like built down into the floor. It's kind of my thinking. So, you know, they haven't fallen off the floor. And I actually built out, like, at first I built out like a little table and some stuff up here, and I just didn't feel like it really fit all that well, so I put the tanks up here, which are kind of like, I don't know, fuel canister type things, is kind of what I'm thinking. So, like fuel canister resupplying, I don't know, but I wanted some stuff to stick on the ceiling, so that's one of the things that I'm sticking on the ceiling. I'm still looking for other things, but some of the stuff that I really want, I can't craft yet because it's either, you know, it's future tech, or the recipes aren't available, or I just don't have the materials available to make them. These are surprisingly cheap, because I wasn't even going to look at Advanced Rocketry stuff, and then I was like, well, I'll take a look, and I looked at it and I was like, hey, these are craftable. Anyways, there's an elevator right back here, so if we pop upstairs, this is what I've got so far back here. And it's very, very unfinished. Basically just supports and support beams that cross over. And then these are archaic lights. Archaic from Embers is what these are. They're really, really cheap. Just arcane bricks, 4 of those, and then an ember is really all it is. So I've got those set up. They're kind of cool because they actually like emit like fire particles and stuff. I used a little bit of them over there off in the distance. You can see a structure. But up here, my idea is that this structure was like a terraforming thing, which I've still got a little bit of work to do on the exterior to kind of make that, you know, make that a reality. But this thing was used for like terraforming, so it's got like this beam, and that's what those canisters are for, is to power that. And I've got to craft up some fluid pipes for immersive engineering. Those are craftable. Now, if I take a look here, these right here, just iron plates. So I am going to craft some of those and use those a little bit over here for decor as well. But anyways, I'm kind of dreading this like roof part because it's going to be a lot of architecture craft blocks to bring this up. So fun times. But yeah, so this is like a terraforming cannon thing. But eventually, this is going to be our sorting room. Is what we're going to be using it for. But that's what the intention of the old structure was. Anyways, if we pop out here, there's like another little terraforming beam right here. I figure maybe it's like a less powerful. It doesn't have like the super cannon aspect, but this is maybe, I don't know, something else that's used in terraforming. I've never driven a terraforming walker ship thing, but that's my theory. So, anyways, if we come around here, I ended up just putting plates on the side for this. That way, I could kind of hide the drawers back there because I didn't want to actually use the drawer materials, because the drawers I decided were a more recent addition to this. And so maybe there used to be something else there and it broke and they replaced it with drawers, you know, kind of retrofitted it for their needs. The drawers are actually made out of ashen stone and reeds from earthworks, which are just 4 sugarcane. So is what they're made up of. And I actually quite like that because it kind of, I don't know, it kind of matches the room without feeling like it was originally part of the room, you know. It's a little bit cleaner of a texture and everything, so a little bit more earthy of a texture as well. So that's the work so far. That's the work so far. And there is going to be little leg type appendages that come off of this, which I have to add so that it kind of, you know, it kind of feels like it used to be a terraforming thing. And what I'm thinking is like the pilot area was back in here, so maybe it was all glassed in, but it's destroyed. So I will say that some of these structures, there's at least 1, possibly 2 of these structures that I do plan on eventually building ones that are actually all together. Just having them kind of moss covered and destroyed, but maybe, you know, not like crashed into the ground destroyed kind of thing. You know, just like they're still there and they're still standing, but they're all like moss covered and not running anymore. So later on, not in this area. But, and actually the legs from this are actually going to be the same as those struts. So they took the legs, the leftover like legs that have fallen off of this. Of course, the joint, it's going to have broken off at the joint is kind of what I'm thinking, but we'll get into that hopefully in the next cut, because I do plan on adding those. Maybe, if I get around to it, because it's already Saturday, kind of morning-ish at the moment. So I do plan on putting this out by Sunday, so I've got to wind it down a little bit here. So I got like the rest of the day to get this done. It is quite time consuming. So then over here, I feel like I've been building on here for like a week straight. Like, no joke, because I've been working on here so much. I've done a little bit on SevTech, and then tomorrow I plan on spending the whole day on SevTech. But over here, I have added a little bit more. If we pop upstairs, this is the area right now. It doesn't have any lighting or anything. This is the, of course, the processing area. I think the main thing I added on this floor was, I added this little ceiling part. So it's like, it's grating, you know, basically like to act as almost an exhaust for this. And then if we pop up here, this place is a little bit more difficult to navigate. Let's start right down here. So right down here, this is where I'm going to build out, because this actually connects down and it's open into that room that we're going to have the processing. So if I put laboratory blocks or I put wattle and daub or something like that up here, it's still going to register in the floor below. Because like this room isn't separated. So if we take a look right here, like that's the processing room right down there. So we pop back up out of here. This is where it's really just decorative. And this is here. I don't know. I don't even know why I bothered doing this. Basically, so somehow you look up, it doesn't look horrible. And then along this wall here, there's going to be wattle and daub and laboratory blocks and stuff, like the bare minimum that we need for it to register down below and allow us to use furnaces and stuff like that. Totally going to go cheap on the restriction blocks, because I hate those things. I hate the restrictions. More and more, the more I build, I just hate the restrictions more and more. So we're going to stick them all up here, whatever is necessary for our needs, and then like for it to count, and then, you know, that's what this room's for. So anything I need for the bee processing area, we can just stick down here. And then up top, I went ahead and the top is actually kind of done. In this structure, I really just have to fill in the sides of the processing room and then the wattle and daub area, and then maybe fill it full of wattle and daub and laboratory blocks. But the top is actually pretty well done, I think. So this used to be almost like some kind of big turbine, right? So we kind of have like this, it's almost like the rotor kind of running through there, and then like little rotors coming off, I don't know, that generate power. So I'm not an expert in space tech, like future tech, but it works. It works. So anyways, and then I've got some of these archaic lights here. They actually don't light up anything below it, but I have them up the top just for decor. And then this is all architecture fences or rails that kind of make this like cage around this, which I quite liked. And then if we pop down, yeah, we'll pop down here. This is almost like big gears, is kind of what I was thinking when I was putting these together, because I like the design so much of this section, you know. So I brought it up 2 more layers, and these are actually detached. So I'm thinking like the bottom one here is like a bigger, I don't know, gear, and you know that's where the processing room's going to be. So it's got to be filled in, but I'm gonna actually bring it out and kind of ridge it so it sticks out farther than the other gears, like comes out to almost like a point. I'll make sense of it. It's hard to explain, but I'm gonna bring it out a little bit more, and then above it, you know, there's two smaller gears because I just like the way those look so much. So I ended up wanting those set up as, I don't know, kind of like gears. So that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment. This building, I will say, this building is so much easier than that building. This building is a lot cheaper. That building hasn't been terrible, in truth. But the drawers, crafting all the chests and stuff, it actually wasn't that bad, but it did set me back like 40, 50 minutes or something, getting all that stuff together for all those chests. So I pretty much just crafted a few stacks of chests and saw how much damage it did, and then I ended up counting it out once I got just about done. So it did take a lot of chests. It did take quite a bit. So, but yeah, I hope you guys like it so far. It's definitely coming together, and the nice thing is, like, I know it's a lot of building between like last episode and this episode, and trust me, it's been a lot of building on my end because I'm cutting it down so that you guys only have to see the update highlight kind of things. But it's been like a week of building. It's been rough, but once that building's done, we're going to have our B processing area, we're going to have our storage area, we're going to have our B area. So realistically, I mean, I still need like workshops and stuff like that, which I do want to get those moved over, but I think getting this stuff in place so we can actually start like the legitimate storage system that auto processes and auto stores all this stuff coming in is going to make a world of difference for us. You know, having that stuff in place, I mean, those are like the key structures I think that need to get done first. And so I think once we have these in, of course, a lot of this stuff is, especially in this build, a lot of it isn't necessary. I mean, but as you guys know, I don't really build as necessary. I build this big structure basically just to use one room out of it. So it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. And then this structure over here, this one's been a lot of fun. Going like the shape and stuff has just been a lot of fun to play with and do. But it's been a lot more work than the other one. So the other one has been a little bit quicker. So, but I will say that these builds, aside from the drawers and stuff, these builds have actually proven to be really, really cheap. Because Tyrion and factory blocks both craft 32 at a time. They go really far. And in a lot of cases, like these poles, for example, with architecture craft, one piece of Tyrion makes 16 of these. So, it's definitely gone really, really far for this stuff, which has definitely helped. So these drawers weren't terrible. The worst part really would have been the sugarcane, but I have a sugarcane farm out over there basically. Especially with the magnet, I can just run through and then come back in, you know, 10 minutes and just kind of clean it out to make the reed blocks. So it hasn't been too bad. Hasn't been too bad at all. So anyways, between this cut and next, I'm going to try to work on this area, kind of get this finalized, like the walls themselves. Of course, we're not going to fill it until, you know, next episode when we get into the storage stuff. And then over here, I'm going to try to get the walls put in. So this build will be, for the most part, done. I may pull out the laboratory blocks and stuff in our other dimension, so we can go ahead and fill this in with laboratory blocks and wattle and daub, but I don't know for sure. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do that just yet. Probably, but we'll see where I get to. But I mean, that's the main thing, is kind of like my goal is finishing up a lot of the architecture, and then we'll come back and I don't know if I'll do the legs on this yet. I mean, it really just depends on how much time I have once it's all said and done. So but anyways, I will be back here in just a bit. Okay, welcome back. It has been a decent amount of time. I haven't actually finished this building over here, the storage building. I haven't totally finished yet. Fact is, I've just ran out of time. And I've got the thing, I've got our melter melting down sand, you know, making glass. I need a lot of glass for this. I've used a lot of glass for this. So I've got that processing, but it's not completely done. But we're going to start over on this side. And I haven't gotten all the like roads done, you know, the sarsen cobble. I've got sarsen cobble. I just haven't had time to put it all down And then I've got to do more railings and stuff like that that run through here. But over here, this is what I've got so far. And we've kind of got this little pathway here that comes through, and this is all those cornice blocks from the classical tab of architecture craft. But and they do emit light, so there's like a nice little like glow to it. And then if we come through here and we step through the vines, I actually quite like that, like a vine hidden pathway. And we head upstairs. I got this all lit up. So we have a little, this will be, of course, where the bee processing area is. And what's funny is this whole structure, this big structure here, like if we take a step back, like look at that. And that is all just for bee processing. Is all that this is for. That's all that we're using it for. But I haven't set up the laboratory blocks and stuff on, you know, the floor above this. I haven't done that. Because I'm not 100% sure exactly what all we're going to need. Are we going to need wattle and daub? Are we going to need laboratory blocks? And so on. Now, there is some spots up here where this like little railing that runs around the gears. This little like, these little like beams that run around the gears. There are parts that they're broken off. And I actually tried to replicate that down here. So we've got, you know, this piece that broke off of right there. And it's actually the right size and everything. So it makes sense. And then right here, there's like a little bitty piece that broke off. And it's actually buried down here in the water, and it's the right size that would fit back up in there. And then on the back side here, there's a piece here that broke off, and that's, you know, it's the right size there as well. So, but it's kind of got these big gears. Like this one is like, I don't know, extra big. So I thought about bringing that middle one out another layer, but I actually like it kind of recessed, so it, you know, it comes up, it goes back down, it comes back out. And so on. So I actually quite like that. But and then if we pop up here, the upper section, if we just break through here, this is, I don't have an actual entrance to it because it's just going to be for laboratory blocks and stuff. That's what I've got up here. So it's basically just bare bones. We're going to stick laboratory blocks and stuff in there, but it's not ever going to have an actual use. So, but it does connect technically to the floor below, so that the laboratory blocks and stuff should count. So it shouldn't be too big to where it doesn't register at all. And what's nice is I found a use for all of our leftover architecture blocks. Since I'm pretty much building a junkyard, more or less, I can just stick leftover architecture craft blocks around, and you know, it works. It actually works in this build. So I still got some more to place out, but I threw some down here that I had in my inventory. Just kind of threw them down here. So then I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna do that across this area here and everything. But I'm not sure how many structures that we build that will be classified as being in this, like, I don't know. It's not really a junkyard. It's more like just a crash site, war zone. I don't know. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. So, and then from above, this is what it looks like. So. Just a big, I don't know, leftover turbine. I think it kind of works here. So we have like this big pile of junk. And, you know, the temple is a lot nicer looking. It's a little bit cleaner. I mean, it still has some of those mechanical parts and, you know, like the glowtite and stuff. Which I'm kind of thinking like the glowtite, like right down here where we have the glowtite crystals, it's almost like a fuel source that they used, right? And it creates these glowtite crystals that they used for, you know, powering their big machines. So I've tried to put a little bit of glowtite in most of the stuff, in places. So, and then of course over there we have it on like the underbelly, almost as like a lighting. So it's some kind of like leftover fuel power that they used. But, and then if we head over here, I've got this building. It's coming along. It's definitely coming along, but still a lot of work to do to it. I've got to add, you know, vines and stuff to the outside, which I think really makes a lot of this pop. Adding that just like that burst of color on this like rusty, dingy stuff, I think it kind of brings it together pretty well. So I do have to do vines on the outside. There's a deer just hanging out on top of it. I don't even know what he's standing on. Oh, it must be. Yeah, he's standing on this. Alright, whatever works. And then if we step through here, I have been moving some stuff over, and we're going to touch on that really quick here in just a second. But I have been moving stuff over. I decided to keep the ore berries actually placed down here because, you know, they act as nuggets, so it's nice to have nuggets on hand for these metals. And then over here we kind of have like gems started. Right over here we have blocks, and then wood products are right here, and we have sticks, and eventually there'll be sawdust right there as well. And then, you know, blocks here. It drives me insane because storage drawers flicker a lot, but it can't be helped. So we've got a bunch of our blocks here. We've got over here, we've got, I had it in like the misty cobblestone, misty gravel. I need to do misty stone. I've got some smelted up over there, but it's still in a furnace. So, and I've actually got some in a chest too, because I smelted to fix a spot that I had broken, and I need to fix it. So, and then over here we've got seeds, we've got produce, we've got, right over here is like plants, vines, grass, algae, rush parts. And I'm going to put flowers over here. And then over here we've got kind of like mob bottoms and fish and stuff like that. And then back here, I think the only thing I've got is bricks of all types. Magma bricks, clay bricks, seared bricks, archaic bricks. Right there. This is, I emptied out my inventory pretty much to move stuff over. And we're about to make it a whole lot easier to move stuff over. And these are the gold chests that I've actually emptied out from the other base. And it's mainly just little nitpicky things that I'm going to add to drawers at this point. And I did get an ability totem. It's actually one I'm not crazy about using. But you know, normally I would jump at the chance to have night vision. In this pack, I'm not as excited about it, at least around the base. You know, whenever I go out exploring, it will be handy. But I actually kind of like just the lighting. When you're like flying over this town, right? And, you know, you're flying back from somewhere and you see like that glow off at a distance. Because I've actually, in this series, a lot of times lighting is like something I put off. And I've tried to like get it done, you know, in this series so that we do have the lighting there. And it's actually not even as necessary in this pack, in this dimension, because the mobs spawn, you know, just wherever. But I've tried to focus on that because lighting, it really kind of, it makes it exciting. When you're coming back, you know, coming back from a little journey or something, or you're kind of hovering over the town and just, I don't know, everything's lit up and it looks nice. So night vision kind of ruins that, so I'm probably not going to really use it around the town. But interesting thing, the ability totems, the mobs, and it's actually the first time I've ever seen a mob do this. It was actually a fish that dropped it. And they glow almost like golden, like little golden particles coming off of them. And they were right in here. I was actually working on this little section here. I'm doing this glowstone. And yeah, see, these fish actually normally they'll glow blue, and it's just that's, I don't know, it's just an effect they have. But this fish was glowing golden, and I could see it from above the water. And I was like working on this, and I was like, what's that? And I looked down, there's like a little golden particle fish like floating around there. But just a heads up, it seems like the mobs do glow, the ones that drop the ability totems, which is quite interesting. But we can actually just right-click this. You can see we have 3,581. That's experience. And you can see that night vision only costs 150. So 9 player levels, and we'll go ahead and just equip that. And now we have night vision, constant effect. And we can make this the ability bottle, and I will probably end up making one of these so I can pull that off. And but this right here, the ability bottle, Alpha Glass. Oh, you actually craft this. You don't just throw it in mana glass through. It's not too bad, though. We'll probably, I don't know, we'll probably craft one of these next episode and go over. We don't really have time this episode because there's something else I want to touch on. But right here, I added another liquid fuel tank, and then these are just cornice blocks that kind of run around it. So it's kind of like it's locked into place. And my idea is that these little canisters, and actually I changed my mind. You know, originally I said, well, maybe they're like a fuel source. No, actually, since this is like a terraformer, maybe that's like I don't know, a biome, for example, that's loaded into that tank, and they just shoot it down or whatever, and it creates that biome. I don't know. It's just just my thinking. But you know, maybe there's different biomes or something in different tanks. But if we head upstairs, this is totally unfinished. You can see the floor is not even put on. I did put down some dirt, and I grew a spruce tree right there. So we have a spruce tree that's going to be growing up out of this room. This is going to be, of course, our sorting room. And you can see where I've been, by the way, there's another one of these tanks right here that would be like, that's the one that's about to come out of the, you know, the terraforming cannon, right? And then like the next one would come through, you know, this vent would open up, let's say, and the next one would come through and lock into place and then fire whenever they're ready to terraform. So But anyways, I'm doing glass through here. And I decided I'm actually going to have it like broken. Like this is actually going to be one of the spots that are broken. It's not done. It's not done at all. But I'm going to have like parts of the glass that are broken open. And see, it kind of like looks like it's been shattered. And that's what I want up here. So I'm thinking maybe this glass has actually stood the test of time because it's like a thick, you know, it has to, drones. This glass was like near the explosion point, let's say, where the terraforming canisters would come through. So it has to be like a heavy duty glass. So, you know, some of it stood the test of time, but some of it has been shattered. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So that way I can actually have some glass over here and it not feel out of place, because most of the stuff, if there was glass, like standard glass on it, it would have busted by now. But you know, this glass is a bit more heavy duty. And then I decided I just want a tree growing up out of this. So I'm probably going to like spruce up the tree. Haha, pun intended. Spruce up the spruce tree. But for right now, it's just a base spruce tree. I actually had to grow. That's my fourth one that I had to grow because I kept getting ones with just like a little bit of leaves at the top. Or they were like super massive, like way too big. So I grew a few of them to get like a baseline to start with. But the main things that need to be added up here right now is the glass and the floor. So I may have it done by next episode. Don't hold your breath. I may not. But I'll try to get at least the floor done so we can start setting up the sorting area. But I don't know. I mean, I've got I think I put in 4 stacks of sand to smelt up. So we might have enough glass. So, but it does get expensive because I have to do the insides and outsides of this to kind of smooth it out on both sides. But so sorry I didn't get this building totally done. It's just the resources. Once I got to the top, the resources took a little bit because I didn't have enough glass prepped. Originally I wasn't actually anticipating using glass. I was like, well, I really need glass up here, so I started doing glass. So I just didn't have enough prepped, and it's very early Sunday morning, so this episode will be coming out later. I mean, luckily I've already got like everything else up to this point. You know, I've been editing as I go, so editing out this last little bit will be pretty quick. So anyways, before we end out the episode, there is one thing that I want to do, and this is just to help me out as far as sorting goes. This is or moving stuff over from the Exoria planet. I want to craft 2 things. I want to craft an ender chest and an ender pouch. These 2 things. And they're both pretty cheap. Barnium, obsidian, wool, and then leather and a chest, and then 2 ender pearls. And we should be all set. Let me grab this. I've been storing my inventory over here. Well, I stored my inventory because I was moving stuff over and locking stuff into place and all that. So there is our ender pouch, and there is our ender chest. And what I want to do is, for right now... Oh, and I need to make a drawer. Yeah, I didn't make a drawer controller. Let me actually move this back. I don't want this frame trim right there. I want to make a controller slave real quick as well. I'll be honest, this is really nice having like a storage area where everything is connected up. And everything's like within one room and all that, which the B storage area that we have in the old area, it's not going to be like that once we get all this set up. It's all going to get transferred over to here. It's going to go through sorting systems and all that. So, but anyways, let's set up a drawer or a controller slave right here. And then I want to take and set up an item pipe. I think this is probably our fastest transfer that comes to mind, I think. We'll put an item pipe setting right there, and then... Oh, where do I want to put the redstone for this? That is the question. Let's see, we're going to put the item extractor setting here. We're going to put the ender chest setting right up here. Because these move decently fast. I mean, we'll eventually probably have to speed this up, but for right now, this will work. And then later on, we may switch to item ducts or something. But honestly, I think this should be maybe fast enough. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. Because these things do move stuff decently quick. I'm going to have to hide this away. But if we put the lever right there, I'm thinking it may activate the item extractor. So, for example, now if I was to put in... See, I've got, well, 3 pieces. I'll put it up to 4 stacks and 63. So if I dump this in there, it gets pulled out. There we go. 4 stacks and 63. Perfect. And I'm going to have to hide that stuff down there. Actually, I've got some bluestone right here. Let me grab... Okay, so that's kind of hidden away. And I kind of wanted this just right as you enter, because if I come through here and I just want to dump something off, there it is. Of course, I'm going to have an ender pouch. It's not... I will say this ender pouch isn't going to be like long-term. It's not going to be connected up to this ender chest directly. It's going to be connected up to the start of our storage system, because that's going to have its own color line, which we'll get into that. We'll probably start getting into that next episode. But I want to get into like a legitimate sorting and storage system so that it, you know, stuff comes in from the bees. It gets sorted, processed, and then sent to drawers. But if I open up this ender pouch, it opens up the respective ender chests. So for example, if I was to grab out, you know, 3 more gold again, so 4 stacks and 60, and I dump it into here, it gets pulled out and goes 4 stacks, 63. So if I was to grab, you know, all this malachite, all this, I'm just going to dump it on the ground because we have a magnet. There we go. And it's all going to pull to me. And then I can just do this. And just... Okay. It's going to take it a second to catch up on me. Okay, it still helps a bit because then I can just take all this stuff and I can warp over. I mean, it's quick. Even doing it manually, it's super quick with... Oh, you know what? I need to put upgrades in this. Storage upgrades. Because I am not going to have nearly enough space for this stuff. So I'll drop storage upgrades into those 2. And I might as well go ahead and drop one into the one that has the flint and the fluix. And I'm going to have to... Between episodes, I'm going to try to get a bunch more storage upgrades made. And storage upgrades dumped into spaces that we're going to need them in. And then we can do void upgrades after that, you know. So anything after a certain point is just going to get voided. Okay. But anyways, I know it's about wrapping up point for this episode. So next episode, we're going to actually start hitting, probably get our bees moved over, which I will say I have been, pretty much since I started building on this, I've been making the redstone silicon chips because we're going to need a lot of those as we progress. So I have been making those, and I'm actually got like a stack and a half of those made up right now, which isn't too bad. That'll definitely help. I'm probably going to keep making more of them because we're going to still need more and more of those. Once we get all that stuff moved over from Exoria to an actual workshop area, which will probably be our next build that we tackle, but right now I've got to get started on SevTech building. The next build on here will be probably a workshop of some sort. We'll speed that up. We'll make it a lot faster because I've got some ideas for changing over that power system and everything. So we will get on to that, but next episode, we will probably start moving some of our bees over into this area. Get centrifuges up and going, get some of the bee processing stuff. We'll be using probably all 3 of these buildings. So the bees will be in here producing stuff. It'll get sent over here. The stuff that needs to be processed gets sent over here. It'll get processed down, and then it'll get sent to the storage area. And then we'll also work on, you know, maybe some of the sorting area aspects. So, you know, if I have the ender pouch and I dump in... Whenever I'm out exploring, for example, and I'm killing those ender mites, I get that ender dust. Well, when I dump that in there, I don't have that slotted into a drawer, so I'm going to have it sent to a processing area. Like I said, that ender chest that we have set up right now isn't going to long-term connect to this ender pouch. This ender pouch is going to be connected to an actual insert that goes to a sorting system before it goes over to there. So we'll have... You know, that ender dust is going to get pulled out. It's going to get sent into a compacting drawer, compacted, and then pulled out and sent to... Oh, why can I not think of it? It's from Sky Resources, right? So, the condenser. That's what I'm trying to think of. So it'll get sent to a condenser and create the ender pearls and then get sent to the storage building. So we'll start getting into that stuff next episode. I will say we're probably going to spend a couple episodes on that because, I mean, there's just a lot that we're going to be covering with that. And it's kind of priority stuff that I want to cover on camera because it's going to pretty much pave the way for our future endeavors. Having a good storage and sorting system is, I think, probably the most important thing that you will ever do in Minecraft. Storage and sorting, processing, that kind of stuff is, you know, having all that stuff automated so that you don't have to manually move that stuff. Because right now we don't have a good sorting storage system on Exoria planet. It was kind of just like, okay, here's where this goes, here's where this goes. Not everything's being processed. You know, aluminum was never processed. But I do want to, I'm sure we're going to start using that stuff a bit as we move forward, so I do want to have that automatically being processed. And then after that, we'll start hitting, you know, workshop type stuff, making it easier to make rods and alloys and things like that, you know, having a dedicated space for that. So, and also whenever we move this stuff over, we're going to move into electric power, you know, RF powered melting instead of using embers. So, because embers, even though I've got a bunch of embers bees running, you know, I've got 4 of those running, there is ways to make those more efficient, which we will get into that stuff later on, but we just don't have the materials coming in necessary, you know, automatic materials coming in necessary to really automate the efficiency increasing process. So instead, we're going to switch over to the actual melter and use RF power for that. I've got to do some testing because I know that thing does use a massive amount of RF. So we're going to have to go really, really crazy with power generation, I think, to actually be able to utilize the thing, because the RF requirements for that is just, it's massive. So anyways, I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys enjoyed the builds. I know it's a lot different than what I usually do, because usually I try to build things that are kind of a bit cleaner. But now I'm trying to build things that are somewhat broken up and stuff. I mean, the temple is kind of clean looking, because like I said, it's kind of like a, I don't know, a sacred space. You know, this is where the little primitive mobs worship the bee goddess, I guess, you know. So it's a bit more clean, but still trying to use some of the almost futuristic type aspects. But these buildings are kind of just like retrofitted. They're like, we need this area for processing things, and you know. But I will say this building especially I'm really happy with. The other one is pretty much just a big structure with a room in it that we're going to be using, but this building I'm actually really happy with. It was a lot of fun, and like I said, I've still got to figure out things to stick on the ceiling to really, because you know, most blocks in Minecraft you can't turn upside down. So it makes it a little bit tricky. I don't know. I'm going to try to find more things to stick on the ceiling. I've got to one thing I usually do, and one thing I want to do, is copy this world and duplicate it basically and make a creative version of it. Usually that's what I do, is I'll do that periodically. As I build things, I'll duplicate it and make a creative version. So that way I can go in creative mode and stick random things in there, and I don't have to actually craft it up. You know, that's the worst thing, is like things that take any kind of like crafting effort, I'm like, yeah, I'll just test that in my test world. So I've got to duplicate this and do a bit of testing and see what I can actually stick on the ceiling and whatnot. But yeah, so anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you like the structure so far. And we'll start, next episode we'll actually start working on some progression type things and start, you know, actually putting things into all 3 of these buildings. So I think we're in a good spot for really pushing forward. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, to stay updated with when new videos come out. I know this episode is probably going to run a few minutes long. I do apologize, and I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe. If you guys have any questions, or if you have any ideas about things we can stick on the ceiling, let me know, and I'll see about that. I do have some plans for some tables. I will say I played around with some little table ideas with Architecture Craft, but there wasn't anything I really liked, but I do have some plans for those. So I'm going to play around with it and figure out some little tables and stuff that we can kind of stick up there that have been, you know, fastened onto the floor. Like steel tables, not wood tables, because the wood tables would be long gone. But anyways, I will see you guys next time. Until then, as always, do take care, stay safe. I'll see you guys then.